Ladies and gents, we've got the full panel here today. I don't think I've had five on here before. We've got Mitch, we've got Matt. Welcome back to you, mate. We've got Nikki, who was on the other day, and Lockie, the Scoop. Super excited for this one. And we're going to kick off our cash cows, our 400k and below discussion with the big topic of the week, actually, especially now that we just got information on Spencer Leniu being out for 2 weeks. The question is, how do you rank Nafahu White, Finafiaki, and Kelma Tuolangi? Mitch, kick us off. How are you ranking it?
Yeah, mate. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, very interesting trio this is. If I was to rank those three in order, I'd probably go Kelma at one, and then the other two. Look, I'm not too sure. I'd probably lean towards Finefuyaki number two, and then White third. Just with I think Kelma has the most upside out of all of them. He looks to be the 80-minute edge on Moses' side. He didn't really play well in the trial and scared us off a little bit, but
Yeah.
I think he's probably the best out of those ones. Fuyaki played really well in the trial and looks to have kind of a position sewn up. Not too sure, you know, minutes wise and all that sort of thing. And White with the news of Spencer, I think White will start the first two games at prop, but then he's back to the bench. We just don't know. A lot of those Roosters forwards are traps, and I probably wouldn't risk it too much unless we definitely know he's starting long term. But that's my three.
How many of them are you taking so far?
At the moment, I've just got Kelma in and around, one of my many iterations, at that 400k price. Like I said, I think he's got the most upside. Playing next to Moses will benefit him as well. Looks to have that 80-minute edge, so it's not going to be pretty at times. And he's in and out, but around that price point, I like Kelma.
Beautiful. And Matt, what are your rankings on that? Welcome back to you.
Hey mate, thanks for having me back. It's nice to be on a panel with all these higher ranked than me last season experts. So it's good.
Fair.
We've got some quality in. I didn't know about Spencer. I didn't hear that news. I had the same as Mitch,
Mhm.
Tuolangi, Nay, and then White. I think I'll stick to it. Um, just because we're not sure with White. If we get more news that I saw something that Spencer's like not happy at the Roosters or something. I'm not
Mm.
sure if that's accurate or not, but if we got more news around that before TLT or before we have to lock in our teams, then maybe that order flips around. But for now, I think just take the starting back rowers.
Yeah, for sure. They're very close to me with those selections. But Matt, any of those guys in your side right now?
Yeah, I don't love it, but I've got Tuolangi and Finifuaki in my starting edges. I
Okay.
just feel like so much value at edge at the moment that I don't really want to spend up for a gun. But that could change before we have to lock everything in.
Beautiful. And Nikki, mate, any of these three have that potential 200k upside in your eyes?
Um, well, I've got Kelma in my team at the moment, based on if you squint just about.
Mhm.
Kind of looking at last year, over 70 minutes, he averaged 45-ish. I did have the numbers, but I didn't write them down, so we're winging it.
Mhm.
So that 45 is roughly 200k. Um, it looks like he's got that starting edge, whether it's 80 minutes or not, we'll see. But it kind of just about gives the value there, and it means that if he doesn't quite play as well as he did the end of last year, you're still getting that 10 points or so possibly. The one thing the one thing when actually looking at the stats a little bit closer, and the one thing I was watching for in the trials, and I try not to pay a lot of attention to how people are playing in the trials because they're not going 100%.
Mm.
They're not giving it everything that they would do in a normal game, and it's just more about fitness and role for me rather than how they're playing. The one thing I did notice about Kelma was he didn't have a single offload across the two games, and last year when he was getting that 45 average, he averaged three offloads a game.
Wow. Yeah.
So there's a lot of points in those offloads for him. Uh, and again, it might just be trials. You might just be told put it away. Not worth it. Just concentrate on getting the run in your legs type of thing.
Mhm.
But if that is something that's consciously he's been told, we want a more kind of, I don't know, reliable edge while the rest of the para pack throw offloads galore as they normally do,
Yeah.
then it does take a bit of that value off him. But currently he's still in my team. I'd have him above. Looking at the same for Fuiaki last year, over 70 minutes. I think his average was about 39.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Edgar was over a larger sample as well. So probably not quite the upside that a Kelma has. And, if he's not getting 80 minutes, if it's 60 minutes, probably, maybe a little bit of value, not a whole lot. So I'd probably have White above Finney. Mostly just because, again, we don't really know what we're going to get. If he does get 50 minutes, he could be great. So maybe I would probably go for him just on the off chance that he does kind of lock in a bigger minute role with Spencer being out. And even if he gets 40 minutes, there's probably still something in there. But yeah, they're all in that position. This is the same. This is the Wong Tupanua-esque conversations from last year where we've got all these 400k edges, and it turns out that they were all rubbish. So
yeah,
hopefully at least a couple of them work out this year.
It's definitely scarier after that trial on the weekend when we thought I probably had him as a pretty safe player, but to see that he has those missed tackles in him was pretty tough. But yeah, the big difference between Kelma and Finn last year, 0.1 offloads per game for Finn. So that was good fun on that one. And Scoop, can we make it a perfect 4 from 4 on Kelma being number 1?
Yeah, I'm going to go into bat about those 7 missed tackles. Like, they just didn't have their halves there. He's not going to get the same ball. It's going to be much more quality ball. He's going to be able to do more. The combinations are going to be a lot nicer than the guys that he hasn't trained with as much in the starters. And yeah, he's the type of player that can miss a few, but that's already a little bit built into his value. And I guess there is some risk with the offloads, but that will also come with those half partners compared to ball that isn't quite as good, positioning that's not quite as good for anybody else following up behind him. So yeah, I do have Kelma as number 1 and my only one in that bracket at the moment because, yes, you did bring it up, Nikki. I don't want a repeat of the situation where we buy 3 and 2 of them bomb and one of them's okay. I want one of them. And for that reason, I'm going to put White as a potential better buy than Finney, but a worse one to start with in round 1, because Finney, you pretty much know what you're going to get, right? The scope for him to score better or worse is pretty limited. It's like it's going to be decent or it's going to be not great. White's either going to go completely off, or we're going to see that he's got that role and he's going to be great. So I think he's a good one to transfer to in that round 3 if he's still starting from one of the guys who's bombed for you.
That's cool. Love that. Appreciate that, guys. Let's kick it off from 400k and below. If you don't say anything, that means we're not even thinking about him. Takauho. All right, we're moving on. I like it. Brendan Hands, is he going to get a run on anyone's side?
Oh, with the
Talking about
Zulus
the ghosts of
drama,
last year again.
It's just, I still can't do it. I still cannot do it. It just pains me.
Mitchy boy, any love on Emre Gula?
No, mate, not for me. Emre Gula gives me the Aaron Clark vibes. I mean, just for this year only, like, been talked about coming to a new club. One of these ones where if you squint really, really hard, take, a certain sample of statistics, maybe you could see some value. But like I said, at that price, you 40k to Kelma, 20k up to those other guys, just leave Emre. He's never really been fantasy relevant, and going to a new club doesn't automatically just make him fantasy relevant. So I'd say no.
Yeah. Anything for you there, Matt?
He's made my side earlier on,
Oh.
like occasionally, only when I didn't have the 400k to spend on like a White or someone. So I don't know. He only had 3 games over 40 minutes last season. He's only 27 years old. So we've got a small sample. He's not like he's 30, but yeah, I don't know. I don't love it, but it's one that you can always jump on if he comes out and, goes big on a 50 and you're sitting there with Fuiaki who gets injured or like ends up playing 50 minutes, you can pivot.
Yep. Nikki, Lachlan, anything on him for you guys? Did you like what he saw at the trial on the weekend?
Yeah, so I think he does fit into that bracket of if we've seen at least 5 years of them and they've never done it, just don't. But he's not as good as somebody like a Gajeski who hasn't done it because he's quite a lot more expensive. And so there's not really much for him at all for it to work out compared to a cheaper guy who the only way is up.
Yeah. Nothing for
Yeah,
you,
I
Nick,
think
on
he's
him?
just a bit. Yeah, I think he's too expensive, I think, to take a flyer on. There's better out there at that price for me. And if it turns out that he does have a bigger minute role than we're expecting, he's probably not going to fly away in value. You could get him in if you think it's going to be worthwhile, but yeah, no, not for me.
Sweet. Lockie, kick us off with Jack Bird, mate. What do you think of him on the weekend? How he looked, and if he plays off the bench, does he make your side?
Well, I was really worried, but he still didn't do that bad. It's still going to be hard to take him though if he's 14, hey, because minutes in trials are one thing. The second trial for the team is closer, but how many people are they going to give a run their actual position with their actual minutes? As you said, it's more about role, like Nikki said. I think he probably just misses my side if he is the 14 in round one, because there's just so many other cheap center options, but he'll be one that'll be a good pivot straight away if it doesn't work out for somebody else. And he does look fine. He does like a Dylan Walker off the bench or something.
Yep. Nikki?
Yeah, it didn't put me off. So he's still on my team. I don't think I'll be pivoting away from him as it stands. I think he's likely to be there, even if he is named off the bench. He's not going to lose value, if we need to punt him off when he's in, if he's not going to get the minutes. But yeah, I think it's one of those where everybody is talking about why he was such a great put in, before that trial happened. And we've seen one trial, and it's just not enough for me to kind of go away from everything that's been talked about as to, why the Tigers have got him, how valuable he's going to be for them, and how people expected them to set up. So, yeah, like if I'll have him even if he's named on the bench. They might just be building him up. Again, we know his injury history, etc. And I don't know. There's things that can not work, but to me, it's getting to the point of overthinking it a little bit of why we might want to avoid him. So yeah, I'll be sticking with him.
Yeah, I suppose we probably only wanted, well, expecting or hoping for 50 minutes. It's just that he would have to do that straight up, wouldn't he? Like come off the bench and then play that 50 straight, and it's a bit safer to get those minutes through the middle if he is starting. But Matt, any thoughts on Bird, or same as the boys?
Pretty similar. He was in my team for quite a lot of the preseason, same as a lot of people, but I've decided to go this. I've got the same centers as what's on the screen right now. I like the, basement price and gun strategy. So I think I'll stick with that. And then if Jack Bird really impresses, we can always move there. But the injury risk just puts me off, and him playing off the bench.
Yeah. Mitch?
Yeah, pretty similar, mate. Again, I've had him in majority of my drafts before the trial and the second to last TLT. Yeah, Bird on the bench at 14 just gives me really, really big trap vibes personally. And yeah, I don't love it. He played really well on the weekend, but he scored a very, very easy try. And he will do that. He's an attacking focused player. But if he starts off the bench, and it just limits his value in the sense where he will get the minutes. There's nothing stopping the Tigers from having on for 50 minutes and playing center and scoring 21 points. And if he was to start, at least he has an avenue to get more minutes earlier on in the middle, whether it's at lock or back row, however it ends up. But if he starts from the bench, it just limits that. And as soon as there's an injury, he's going to be the one to fill in. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And I just don't love it. At that 360K price, we've been blessed. It seems to have a lot of really, really cheap outside backs and a lot of good cheapies. I just think me personally, I think I could utilize that money a lot better. Again, if he was to start, it's different because, like I said, he gets the 13 role, and there's an avenue where he gets more of a chance to get those bigger minutes. And it's not so bad if he moves out into the centres once he's played 45 minutes at lock. But that's just my thoughts again. So I've taken him out, and I'm not too sure if I will put him back in just because we've been blessed with so many cheapies.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're split 50-50 there. Jamie Humphries, if he's named in round one, does anyone have any clear concerns and would avoid him? All right. Boys are going for Jamie Humphries if he's there round one. How good did he look? Hey, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I do have like the only one concern I would say is we've got Duffy, Sandon Smith, and Metcalf. So adding in and potentially Pakes if people want to go there. So adding another half, a cheap half,
Mm.
a little bit more expensive, that extra 100K could be one for me anyway that I might just pivot to after a couple of games, make sure he holds the spot. But yeah, he's a jet for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lucky if. Sorry, Granny.
the
Yeah, go
Dodd
ahead.
suspension. Yeah, the Dodd suspension isn't great, given that we're going to go into round one not knowing if he actually won the spot or if he's just there while Dodd's out. Makes it a little difficult. I don't know as well if Wayne Bennett's one to completely change his plans based on the performance of one trial. Again, just going
Yeah.
on trial performance. If he had it in his head that Dodd was a 7 and Humphreys was going to be that 9 coverage, and I think even before Dodd went off, he actually came on as that ball playing 13 role.
Mhm.
So if that was his plan, going like, okay, when we're wondering who's going to take those lock minutes from Murray, and if his plan was to have Humphreys as that 9-13 coverage, is that one trial performance enough for him to pivot away from that and say we're just going to give you the half for the season? So yeah, I'm probably, because we've got so many other halves, probably going to wait and see. If he's locked down that role, then he's absolutely somebody we can pivot to round 2 or 3 at a reasonable price. When those mid-range edges fail, we can all get another half.
When they inevitably fail, that's for sure. But as you said there, Matt, heaps of halves available at that cheaper price. Lockie, does that potentially change your mind on someone like Munster if there's a lot of cheaper halves available?
Look, it has occurred to me, but every time I take somebody like a Munster or a Fish or any borderline keeper in my team for another player in that position, it just ends up looking worse because I see all these 400 and something people in front of me and go, there's so much scope for all of them just to sit there and not do a lot, but not do bad enough that I want to trade them out. And it's just going to clog up my team to death. So I'm actually trying to go away from getting all of these really cheap guys and then the mid ranges as well. If I were to get rid of somebody, I'd almost be tempted to get rid of Metcalf, which is kind of shocking because I want to minimize trades. I want to have some of the actual top guys rather than 3 and then a bunch of 500 and 400K guys. It just seems like I'm going to have to trade my head off and then still have to deal with all the problems anyway.
Yeah, it'll make sense. There's a lot of options down half spot, that's for sure. But Nwangani, we weren't too excited about him in his first trial, but he played so much better yesterday, but in a team that was shocking. Mitch, what are your thoughts on him? Is this a tough one for you?
Um, yes and no. To be honest, I've had Mark Nwangani in a lot of my draft iterations. Depending on if I go a Ponga and a Garrick or just one of those two, and then fill the other one with a Marky Mark. I think he really passed the eye test. A lot of don't really know what's going on with Billy Smith, and Trent Robertson is likes to shuffle his cards quite a lot, and we just don't know if he'll hold the spot. But if you take that out of it, I think he played really, really well. Very fantasy relevant game. He's a very big boy. Loves to offload. Loves to step back in and have those crowd runs, and that's really, really good for us fantasy coaches. He will get the duel as well if he's named there. Come round 1 TLTB. And yeah, I really like him. He's not currently in my current draft iteration, but if he's there, there's a really strong chance I ended up taking him and then bolstering the top end of my team. I really like it.
Yeah, nice, man. Is everyone here sort of 50-50 with Mark?
Yep.
Yep. All
Yeah,
right.
he's been in and out, but mostly in. And it's just that he's got that fantasy relevant game, and the fact that it's like Dodd. They brought him over on pretty decent coin, I'd imagine, to lure him away from rugby to what sit and play reserve grade centre for 4, 5, 600K a year, something like that. It just doesn't really make sense to me. Toya is great and up and coming, but I think it'd. I don't think he'd be down in the reserve grade for long, so it might not actually be too bad.
Yeah.
He's one of those players that it's really, really annoying that he got that one game at the end
Yeah.
of last year, which bumped him up from that 250 to 350. If he was 250, like at the start, as soon as the game opened, he was one of the first people I had. I watched the Waratahs, and he was. I mean, they've been pretty useless the last couple of years. He was kind of a shining light for a period of that. He just looked like the type of player that could come in and be very fantasy relevant. As you say, he's got that. He's a big body. He loves an offload. He loves a tackle bust. He should score well if he gets that role. And I get the whole the Billy Smith question. I've seen a lot of people saying it's Billy Smith's role in terms of commentators. I haven't really seen a lot from the Roosters or anything that kind of makes a comment. So I don't know if there's just this aura that Billy Smith will come in. I hope he doesn't. I hope it is Mark and Toya. That would help us out a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we just kind of have to wait and see. And yeah, I'm kind of 50-50 at the moment. He's been in and out, just depending on if you've got that spare 100K to upgrade a bottom level cheapie up to him, or downgrade a mid ranger to him to help elsewhere. So yeah, in and out.
100K, it's pretty important at this time of the year. But gee, that left wing spot next to Val Holmes is pretty tasty. Scoop, what do you think of Finau there with that 4 in the first 30 minutes before succumbing to a head knock actually in the end?
Yeah, well, it's almost like halves. How many 250K centers and wing fullbacks do you want, and how many can you actually pick before it starts to really bash your team down? I think he's not in my team at the moment just because that's really the first big audition we've had from him, whereas the others have been kind of locked in with the role, with known points and known expectations for a lot of it. But if one of them isn't named in round one, or something happens and he is there, well, he's probably one of the first to come in. But yeah, I think there's like 6 or 7 at this point. And you can't take all of them, surely.
There's a lot around that 350 mark. Say yes if he's in your team right now. All right. Siwa Wong, 344K. Any love on him? If he does start at 13, he'll get dual position as well. Matt, what do you think of Wong? Is it a scary one given what happened last year? And is there minutes there?
Yeah, I think we've all got a bit of PTSD from last year, just in general with these cheap edges. I'm trying not to be too let last year cloud my judgment on this year too much, because it is a new season and there's new pieces, and you never know what's going to happen with the likes of some of these edges. But when it comes to Wong, I'm a little bit more hesitant just because of that Roosters pack and so many mouths to feed. I mean, if he's not getting over 40 minutes, I think it's probably he's just going to be that guy that does like 25, then a 40, then a 33, and you might make like he'll like slowly get up to 400, and maybe at some point his role changes. But I think I'm happy to just jump on when his role changes.
Yep. Anyone else interested in him right now, or?
And that Butcher did a lot of work on the weekend. And
So good.
with those two 80-minute edges now, Lenny seems to have trapified every body because we really don't know. And so I'm kind of leaning away from any of them.
Yeah. Yeah, personally in that 3 that we mentioned at the top, Wong was the other one that was mentioned. I had him last. So yeah, I think we're all probably in a similar boat there. Just hard to work it out. Whereas the other guys, you've probably got a bit more of an idea on minutes and actually keeping their spot. Isaiah Tass, 325K. Likely, well, this actually, is he actually going to be on the wing round 1? Because if he doesn't, he won't get that duel. But let's just say he plays wing round 1 and he is goal kicking. Mitch, do you have any interest in him there?
Absolutely not, mate. Not on the wing. At centre, let's say if Campbell Graham wasn't there and he was getting that centre spot or a centre position, absolutely. Even in a poor South side, I don't like him or the other bloke who's going to be on the wing. So not for me.
Yeah. Nikki, any love for Tass in this decimated Rabbitohs side?
Yeah, I think once Latrell went down, any hope I had for their attack kind of went with them. Although maybe Humphreys will turn it all around and he'll be a saviour for them. But no, no. I think that, yeah, Tass and Munro both for me have kind of fallen down the pecking order.
Yeah. Yeah, if Humphreys gets him around the park, you'll be buying Humphreys instead of Tass anyway.
Yeah.
But Matty, Lockie, any interest in your team or no?
There's too many others, and that one has a very bad flaw.
Yes, he does. He does. Munro, on the other hand, boys, while we're here, it's 300k. Any thoughts on him, Matty, or is he in the same boat as Tass?
Same boat. I think he was a player that was in my side a little bit throughout the preseason, but I think I just prefer Mark at that center position. It's going to get more base stats just for 50k more, or Tamale that you can get for this weekend and you can use as a loop if you're going to take a Titan, which I'm probably going to take. So I probably prefer those guys, especially with Latrell out, just weakens their attack, etc.
Yep. Anyone else for Munro? Any interest? No, no, and no. We have four no's so far. Let's go to Tamale at 300k. Mitchy boy, tell us your interest in him.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, big. I'm pretty big on Tamale. I wasn't in the earlier stages of preseason when the app first opened up. I didn't really know too much about him, and to be honest, I still don't. But I know he's very fantasy relevant. And he's currently sitting in my center position. He will get the duel, tomorrow or the day after, whenever it happens.
Yeah.
So it gives us a little bit of time to play around with him, whether or not we have him in emergency five, center, wing, fullback. That's my dilemma at the moment, which is something I have to make the decision on. But chances are I start him in my center position. I think on the wing, Scoop said he averages something like 50. In however many games. And again, I'm not looking at those stats thinking he's going to average that. But when he is priced at, 20, 21, 22, whatever that number is, you don't have to expect the world from him. He is in a pretty poor Raiders side. And he is on that left side with, Strange, Hudson Young. Does he get much ball? I'm not too sure. But it is round one, and a fantasy relevant guy like this with the duel, 300k is a risk that I'm willing to take. Albert Hopewade is there looming. He's not a world beater by any means, and he played center in the trials, so it's a risk I'm going to take. And honestly, my biggest problem is what am I going to do with him on the weekend? Where is he going to end up in my team? But he's there, so
Okay.
I like him.
No, that's cool. Speak up if you are not taking him and have a pretty clear reason as to why not.
He's in and out of my team. It's him versus Mark at the moment, and I keep swapping between them, but I'm not sure if I'm going to take both.
Okay. So a bit more of a 50-50 with you, Nikki, as well.
Yeah, you've got, we'll come down to him, Starford Toa as well. That same kind of slightly cheaper center coverage. Tamale's one that if we did pick him, it's purely off reputation because I know, like you said earlier, I know basically nothing about him. There was saw a little bit in that trial. So it's kind of like, do you just take that punt? For some of the other ones, we've at least seen them. And
Yeah.
Toya is one again where we haven't really seen other than the trial, but less important.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other ones we have history, we know a bit more about what we're getting, but that might be that we know we're not getting a world beater, whereas Tamale could come out and shoot the lights out based on what has been said around him in Cup. So at the moment I don't have him, but there's no specific reason again that I'm definitely ruling him out or anything. It's just spin the wheel on a lot of these kind of cheap center wing fullback types. To be honest, at this stage.
That's fair. Anything different to that, Scoop? Are you 50-50 as well?
Like a couple of them have job security issues. Like will Purdy play? Will Purdy not play? Will he play? Will he not play? Will he come out for Lapawade? But he has a good ceiling compared to the others, and so I'm just putting him in.
Okay. And just the last one to finish in this video, guys. We've got Corey Pakes, 300k. Scoop, where you at with him? Any love?
Oh, look, I know he looks pretty solid this year, and I mean, Cup Player of the Year last year or something like that. He'd really need to just have no Billy Walters or something in order for me to take him. Like, he doesn't have to do heaps, but it's another Brendan Hand situation. Doesn't sort of score amazing, but he's cheaper than Hands. I'd be more keen for him over Hands. Still, I think he gets to 400k, but I don't really know if he goes any higher than that. So he's okay, but I just got my eye on other guys.
Yep. Nikki, if there's a bench hooker, any chance of taking him?
I think there's other better options in other positions around that price point. I think pretty much we're all locked into Mamazelis and a Watson or a Grant or something like that. That's enough hookers for me, to be honest. There's more than enough at that price point for us to go to without worrying about a third cheap hooker who might make a little bit of money. I don't know. There's other things I think that we can pick out.
Yep. Yeah, Mamazelis and Yongi we're not talking about because they're in all of our sides. We've heard enough on them. Matty, any love for Pakes or no?
No, I was just looking at his stats, and yeah, his average is 31 in 52 minutes across his career when he
Yeah.
gets over 40 minutes. And that includes 2020 COVID ball, it includes, yeah, a couple of 40s that he doesn't really get in 2023 and 2022. So I probably would just avoid. Danny Levi last year was a bit okay, but annoying. You couldn't really play him in your side, and he made cash way too slow. So I think it'll be another one of those.
Yeah, and he had to score tries to make us some cash. Mitch on the clock, mate. Finish it off. Any love for your Bronco boy?
Yeah, mate, there's no love. There will 100% or 1,000% be a bench hooker on the bench. So he won't be getting anything crazy minutes wise. But no, I think his stats are a little misleading as well. Like you said, like Matty said, they go back to the COVID ball 2020 when he was really young. And he was, really, really, really young. He was transitioning from a half to a hooker in a wooden spoon Brisbane side. So I think he's 25 now, or he's a little bit older. Madge has given him the spot by the sounds of it, and he really believes in him. So I think naturally there's going to be some improvement there. Like Matty said again, you're not going to want to play him in your 17, and then on weeks you will want to play him, it's going to be pretty gross. But like Scoop said too, I think he can get to 400k, but it's going to be gross. It's going to take a while. It's probably not worth the headache. Like I said, there's lots of cheapies which we think we'll have in the emergency spot, so it's probably just not worth it.
Beautiful. Well, appreciate that, guys. If you are interested in the private group team, head in the description below.